Hello, everybody. Uh, Good evening. Welcome to Minutes with Milo show. Like that better? Is that dramatic? I need a cape. No? Okay. Then howdy. So, show 51. It's about travel and where it's going. Can you have travel if it doesn't have a place to go? No. So, where's travel going? Wherever it wants to. So, I've often thought about the Jetsons. You know, you push a button and the car folds up and he carries it in as a briefcase. I don't think that'll ever happen. But we might have I don't know, gravity free. Move my camera around here a little bit. Excuse me. I saw a little sliver of light there is bothering me on the side of the screen. So would we ever have travel like in the Jetsons where get in your car, putter around in the air through space? I mean, I don't know how far the Jetsons flew. Looked like he was pretty high up, levitating platforms. I think where the businesses were. What's on the ground? You know, why did the Jetsons have to live in the I don't know, stratosphere, atmosphere, off the ground? What was going on that they couldn't live on the ground? Was it just you know, too crowded? I don't think they ever showed. I mean, I thought the whole thing was pretty much. Of course, I guess it was all skyscrapers and huge buildings, but you know, I was thinking Kirksley Cogs or whatever that was that he worked at was like in a I don't know flying building or something. But anyway, transportation seems like right now there's not a lot of choices. Everything rolls on the ground or flies with wings. So I came across a thing that I saw on the YouTube channel, and I thought, man, I would really like to have one of those. And it started making me think about, when you're a kid, think about flying. I don't know. Maybe as an adult, I think flying would be cool. Not like in an airplane. I mean, like not necessarily like a bird either. You know, there's been lots of attempts at aircraft and flying bicycles and pedal power and all kinds of things like that. When I was getting ideas for the show and stuff, I watched a video of this humongous winged aircraft that looked like if a puff of wind hit it, it would fold in half. It was made of you know very thin skinned uh, wings, and they were just super long. They drooped on the ends, because they were so long, and people had to run under the wings as the guy in the cockpit on a bicycle pedaled, right, and he spin the prop on the back, had big old tail, and they ran along, and finally, when it got enough speed, it lifted off 2 or 3 feet off the ground. Hey, Robert. And then it stayed at that level. And what they did was they ran it off like a bridge. So He's 3 or 4 feet, no more than that, off the ground. And then when he goes off the pier, bridge, whatever it was, he all of a sudden became like 8 or 9 feet off the water. So he immediately gained altitude. But as he was pedaling it, you could tell he'd practiced. I'm sure he had to. I don't know how. But he would dip the nose a little bit and then porpoise up. And dip the nose a little bit and then porpoise back up. So my thought was that he would, get to the point it would climb and it almost would like get to the stall point, and then he would just dip it over and probably pedal even harder. Are you offering me French fry ends? If you have some, sure, I'd take some. Or are you wanting French fry ends? Now I know you don't like the ends, so you're probably offering them. But by the time I would get them, they would be cold. So maybe you could freeze them and bring them to me later. That would be good. But back to the bicycle-powered airplane, it just seemed like that. Then he would pedal maybe a little harder and it wasn't like wee, up and down, up and down. It was just very slightly noticeable that the nose lifted and set down. But I noticed as it was doing that, it seemed to be gaining altitude off the water. And so, I thought, well, that was pretty ingenious, but they were building those things like they build, free flight little model airplanes just out of, I wish I could remember what they call that. These people that fly not paper airplanes, but model airplanes, gliders inside coliseums, big open areas where they go for distance and the time in flight, that kind of stuff. They make the frames out of, very thin balsa wood, and then they'll take the wing and they dip it in this. It's almost like water dipping. It's floating, whatever it is. It's what do they call that? I wish I could remember that. But they dip the wings in this, and when they pull it up, it creates this very thin layer of substance, and then when it dries, it's almost like plastic. And I can't remember what that stuff is called, but it makes it very lightweight. And then they have to do these things in a stadium so that the air is completely still, because any kind of little change in wind or gust or anything just blows them apart, or sends them into tailspin. They're not designed for any kind of wind. It's just, like I said, for distance or time of flight. But anyway, that's what this bicycle powered airplane. Hey Cleo. Well, ultralights. What is that stuff? I'm gonna have to look it up if I can. But bicycle powered airplanes are not Jetson style. So I got that off. I got a little off on a tangent because I'd have thought that was kind of interesting when I was looking up this for the show. But I've looked at anti-gravity vehicles, because that's what George Jetson was basically. His car was a space, I won't say spaceship, a UFO kind of deal. Everybody sat in it, but it flew, and that's been a popular thing in movies. Blade Runner comes to my mind, but you start thinking about that. Let's say that you could do that. Let's say that in the Jetsons it was really kind of cool because they all, they were all just going along, and he would bump into people and dive off on the exits and all kinds of crazy stuff. As I recall, it's been a long time since I've seen an episode of the Jetsons cartoon, but he wasn't, or none of any of the drivers were that careful about, you know, what they were doing. It was almost like the cars were made of, rubber, and they just kind of bounced off each other. He got a ticket. That was kind of cool. The judge came up on the screen, and they were standing right there next to or hovering, I guess. The cop stopped him right next to the flyway. Instead of the highway, it was the flyway. You get it? And took his money right there and everything. Just boop, 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 done. Stop speeding or bumping other cars or making the wrong exit. But how would you control the stream of traffic when you have, up and down instead of just left and right? I don't know how you would ever do that. That right there, in of itself, would be the death of everybody. I just don't see how that would even be possible. So one of the things when I was younger that I thought would be really cool, and these have been around for a long time, and I know, well, I hope everybody has seen, the Mad Max movies. And one of the things that was in one of the movies that I thought was cool was the gyrocopter. And the guy that flew the gyrocopter, man, he was an ugly cuss. Okay, so let's see if we can get this up. So a gyrocopter is really kind of wild. Is the way that I understand these work, and this whole Jetson things. I know everybody in the Jetson family got into the car, but you got to start out small. You got to be able to, crawl before you can walk. You got to be able to sit up before you can even crawl. So what I kind of looked at is personal, one-manned, womaned transportation device. And one of the posts I made on social media was, what could you have that would make getting to work an adventure? Okay, so I mean, lots of things. Motorcycles fit into that category, but it's not even Jetson-like to ride, a motorcycle unless it could fly. That's what I take away from the Jetsons. Whole thing is nothing really takes place on the ground. Even George's treadmill that he was running on was an extension off the side of the building that he lived on in the penthouse, or I don't guess it was a penthouse, just in that, when he was out there running on that treadmill and gets caught and it just sucks him around and around and around, and he's hollering for his wife. But everything took place off the ground. So when I think about Jetsons transportation, it's in the air. However you do it, anti-gravity, jets, blow dryers, whatever it is, it's off the ground. So the gyrocopter is something that's been around for a while. And, in order for anything to fly right now, the way we kind of know it, shellac, Robert, is that it? Is it shellac or lacquer? I don't know. I'll have to look it up here in a minute. So flying, gyrocopter. A gyrocopter cannot take off vertically, but it can land vertically. And it just has a short little runway that it has to have to take off. But the way that it works is there's a huge, bigger prop that turns overhead like a helicopter, hence the copter. All right. there's an engine that sits on the back and has a prop that points out the back. I don't know where the gyro comes in. Maybe. So that big prop on the top is attached to the engine that's pushing. But the one on top acts like, once it gets spinning and gets its lift going, it acts like a fixed wing. I'm not sure how that works, but I know that's the premise. So as it's spinning up top, the other engine pushes you forward. And because that is going and is attached to the machine, the rear, the engine, it builds lift like a wing. As you go forward, you can pull back, it tilts that upper rotor, and you take off like an airplane. Then once you're in the air, you have your rudder, and you tilt this upper blade up and down, and that makes you, do different things. And maybe that's where the gyro comes in, because that blade on top is not fixed in any way. It can do this all the way around, so that as you're flying, imagine a wing that can turn all kinds of different ways, and that's how it flies. And I was trying to find a good picture of it in the Mad Max. It had that one static picture of it. Alright, so this is the one I think they used. Let me get it up here. Yeah, okay. So this is on the Mad Max fandom page. And let me get that up so we can look at it. Gyrocopter. Alright, what are you doing? That's in my way. Alright, so we move that up above. Come on now. Oh, what are you doing? Oh, there it is. Alright. So, okay, so this is the gyrocopter. Alright, and like I was talking about, can you see my mouse on the here? Whoa, what happened? There it is. Alright, so you can see my mouse. So this is the upper copter. Well, I don't know. Here's the engine. It looks like a Volkswagen engine, man. The rudder's here in the back. I guess these were his fuel tanks. And here's the way that he steered it. And he steers it by, rudders and then moving this wing back and forth. Let's see if there's other pictures of it. All right, so it looks ragged, and that's the way it looked in the movie. Okay. And this is him in his leather jacket, and he had on his goggles and all that kind of stuff. All right, so this is probably fake here, because I don't think the actor actually flew it. So and he crash landed it. See, it's all bent up and stuff. But, ooh, just as a side note, check out the car. Awesome. Go back. Go back. Oh, what happened? I lost all my, there. Here we go. So now this is a little video. I don't know if you'll be able to hear it or not. Let's see. I'm going to try it. See what happens. Ultralight, auto gyro, gyrocopter. Closed course. Drag coefficients created by the wing rotor. Yeah, what Clell said. Y'all hear that? I hear it in my headphones, but I don't know if y'all can hear it. So see, he's reaching up and he's spinning that thing, getting it going manually. But once he gets it going and starts to pick up speed, it does turn on its own. See, now it's picking up a lot of speed. So now he's going to run down the runway, and that's what allows it to take off. Now, once it's up and running, this is an awesome thing. Right? So, flies like an elephant.
freaking awesome, dude. That would be so fun.
You know. If you do this right, you can land vertically.
Freak.
Wouldn't it be cool? I just think that would be cool. Right, working. But how would you ever control? Can you imagine? How would you ever control it? How would you ever regulate it? Gyrocopter. I always thought that that would be like super cool. Would be to have a gyrocopter. But I don't know. They've been around a long time. You'd have to do research. But you know, you could fly to work in that thing. But it's the takeoff. So yeah, if you lived in an apartment, you wouldn't be able to have one, right? Because you couldn't fly to work if you had an apartment. But let's just say if you were going, you know, to work, you'd have to have a landing spot and then a takeoff spot at work. So, I mean, you know, it'd be kind of tough, but I think it'd be cool. My audio's kind of quiet. Let me mute that back. Does that help? Well, I know that video was really, I had it cranked up. Let me turn mine up here a little bit. Is that any better? That should be better. I see it pushing it into the yellow now. But, so along those lines, I know, it's still not jet propulsion. It's still not, you know, anti-gravity, that kind of stuff. Somebody mentioned magnets before. Clell buys lots of stuff. He used to be a wheeler dealer in cars. And he used to do some campers. Did you ever do campers? Or you did a camper van or something one time, I think. I mean, I would like, ultralights are cool. Like with the big, you know, wing, you sit under them and have an engine. Those would be super safe, you know. But I think if I were going to do something like that, I would rather have one of those where it's a flying parachute. I really like those things. I watch those things at the beach. But you're still going to have a headwind. You're still going to have some place to take those things off. And I watched that guy at the beach, you know, because he's flying into the wind. So when he had that air parachute cranked up, and it's like taking off with a kite. I mean, timing is everything with those things, you know. He pulls that parachute up, and if he doesn't have his engine ready to go, if it pulls him back, if he can't overcome that and go forward, it just, you know, it would just pull him back into, you know, whatever was behind it. So, not very good for traveling to and from work. So, somebody mentioned magnets or something like that. It's the Chinese. Believe it or not, the Chinese have been testing a car. Now they have magnetic trains. Everybody knows that, right? The trains that have a very specific rail, like a monorail, and it's like positive magnets, and then the train has negative magnets, and then I don't know how they make that. They turn it. I think they turn them on and off, and it actually push on each progressive magnet, and they get up to like, you know, incredible speeds. So the Chinese have been testing what they call maglev, magnet levitation cars. And basically what they did is the same kind of deal. They had what I saw in the video that they were testing. It was like a layer of magnetic material that they laid down as a track. And then they drove the car, and the car still had wheels and all that kind of stuff. So what they were doing was, as they were testing it, they drove the car over this strip, and it repelled the car from the strip, and so the tires came off, you know, the ground 3 or 4 inches. And it said that they got the car up to over 100 miles an hour on this strip. You know, they ran out like 5 or 7 miles of this strip and would drive the car over it and get it going or whatever, and then, you know, make it levitate, and then I guess accelerate it some way through the magnets just like they do the train. I don't know. But it seems like an awful lot of work, you know, to have magnetic cars or anti-gravity cars. You know, the theory is like the hoverboard in Back to the Future is where everybody wants to go. That would be the best, would be have some type of anti-magnet device on the car, skateboard, whatever it is, that would repel you from the Earth's magnetic field and therefore make you, you know, weightless, anti-gravity, whatever it might be. And I think that was the premise for the hoverboard, was that whatever those devices were on the board repelled it from the magnetic, you know, Earth's magnetic pull. I mean, is that possible? I mean, you think it's possible because the Earth, you know, is magnetic. You know, if you came up with something that would, you know, repel or be the opposite of that attraction, that means, you know, you should, you know, push away from that. You push away from the ground, push away from the Earth. And here's a stupid thing. As a little kid, you think about these things, right? So, as a little kid, I used to wonder why, if I could figure out, you know, which way the Earth was rotating, and I ran the opposite way and jumped up, would the Earth spin under me? You know what I mean? You think about those little things when you're a kid, and that's like, you know, you're driving in a car. There's always that question. You're driving in a car, and there's a little housefly. He's flying next to you, and he's in the car, and you're doing 60, right? If you could stop instantaneously, just stop that vehicle, would the fly hit the windshield? Because it's doing 60, but it's not attached to the car. It's just in that space. So it's doing 60. And if you could stop the car instantaneously, would it hit the windshield? Okay? And I don't know if there's any other way to tell if, you know, what would happen. Now, you would think yes. Okay, but it's flying. And it doesn't know it's doing 60, right? So it's in the space of the car, and it's flying. And it's just staying certain distance from the windshield or certain distance from the, you know, side glass. It's staying inside the car. It's its own little universe, and it's just, you know, it's flying in air that's traveling 60. So if the air stopped instantaneously, do you think the fly would realize that the windshield's all of a sudden getting really close and just, fly back? Just like it would fly around and land on the seat, you know? Big questions, little minds, too much going on up there. Yeah, it would kill the person in the car because, we are attached. We would be attached to the car. And if you stop the car, our body would still try to, still be going 60, whatever it was we were strapped into the car with. Yeah. So, can you survive a falling elevator crash by jumping up at the last second? I don't think you survive, but it's worth a shot. But you got to know when you want to hit. You don't want to jump too soon, and then you're coming down as the elevator's falling down, so you hit even harder at that point, right? So if you wait too long, it's too late. You're already starting to squish before you try to jump. So it has to be perfectly timed. I'd say your best bet would be, as you're falling, get the doors open and then just step out before it hit the bottom. That would be the way to do it. But you'd have to have the door open so that, when at the last second, like when the first floor started to come by, you could just step out of the elevator and therefore you wouldn't hit the ground. So, gotcha. Saved you. You're welcome. So, maglev is something, magnetic levitation is things that a lot of people are toying with. And when I say a lot of people, Chinese, a lot of people, they're toying with it. And they'll probably do it. I mean, obviously they're doing it in a controlled, limited way right now. All right, so jet suits. Everybody wanted a jet pack, and they do make jet packs. Okay. Let's see if I can find that. Here we go. All right. Here we go. Jet packs. I don't know if this has volume. So this guy is on a jet pack. Or these people are on jet packs. All right. And I don't know a lot about these because I just, was doing some research and found them. Uh-oh. Wait a minute. I didn't turn them on. Look out. I'm sorry. I'm seeing it. And you guys aren't. Okay. So, let's see. This will start over here in a minute. So, there you go. Jetpacks. Now, would you like? I would like to do this. See, it looks really fun. I'm not hearing any sound either. So, I mean, I've got that on, but I don't think there's any sound coming out of this video. Excuse me. So, jetpack aviation. I don't know. I haven't looked at this at all. Oh, you can buy shirts. It's the next best thing to being, having a jetpack. Well, there you go. Look at that. Price. Let's just see. Upon request. Well, if you got to ask, you can't afford it. Well, they've got 2 models. That's pretty cool. Empty weight, 83 pounds. Max thrust, 395 pounds. Max speed, 120. Endurance, 8 minutes. 8 minutes. Runs on jet fuel, kerosene, diesel. Operating ceiling's 15,000 feet. Endurance is dependent on pilot weight and density altitude. But 8 minutes. I'm sorry. That would not get me to work. Would not get me to work. So now, let me hide this for a second. There, look at that. Make sure I transitioned it. So they do make jetpacks. 8 minutes, not a long time. Okay. This other thing I found is things I've been seeing here lately. Where did it go? Shoot, did I close that one? Anyway, hold on a minute. Where did it go? Okay. This is called the jet suit. Okay. And these things are pretty cool. I saw this exhibition. This guy, Gravity Industries jet suit, takes part in a NATO mountain rescue exercise. So he starts out at the bottom. Okay, so the scenario is he's on his way to an injured soldier. He's carrying medical supplies, and he is able to leave the parking lot or leave from wherever he is, and let's see, and fly to this injured dude's location.
There was an injured person isolated in a gorge, and the mountain warfare platoon had to
So apparently the scenario is he's in a gorge or something.
The concept was to have industry exhibition here to show what are the.
So I think what they're demonstrating here is what you would have to do now. How much manpower, how much
or in this case we had the rocket man here,
stuff you have to do to get to the person now. So now he's carrying supposedly the plasma, the medical.
Summarizing in the big picture, so personal
supplies.
recovery is only a little part in mountain warfare. So we are dealing with a big issue, mountain warfare, and personal recovery.
The one thing I found, like I said, I saw this before. One of the things I found interesting was, dude, if you can fly, why are you following the roads, right? Go as the crow flies. Why would you be following that road? Just shoot up, go straight across. But now see, that is super cool, right? So as far as jet suits, jet packs, that would be cool. Now, I don't know, let's see. Oh, that ain't at all what. I was looking to try to find, if it had the manufacturer had they're calling those jet suits. I don't know how you would find who makes those. Let's see if there's a what would you say, flight time? Let's see if there's a flight time for a jet suit. Go up here. 10 minutes. Unit weighs 60 pounds. Maximum flight time of 10 minutes. With a current speed of 85 miles an hour, the flight pack can reach altitude to 2,000 feet. Though it's envisioned as a normal use, it would be flown at only 3 or 4 meters above the ground. And what I like about that is if you fly in an airplane, once you get so far above the ground, I think you lose that sense of I'm flying. Yeah, you look down and you've got all that stuff, and that kind of. But I think the real thrill of flying would be just above treetop level. To me, that's where all the excitement would be. So, like I said, the higher off the ground you get, like I've flown in helicopters and stuff, and the most exciting part to me is the takeoff and the landing, because that's when you really get that sensation of, man, I'm really flying. Once you're 1,500 feet in the air, it's like, yeah, this is nice, but it's not like 35 or 40 feet above the ground where you're zipping along and you're actually watching trees go by. It's a totally different thing in my book. So the last thing, and this is what set me off on this tangent, is I know how I would describe it, but it's even got the name that I'm basing my show on. Is this thing right here. All right. Jetson 1. How can I get that to go up a little? There we go. This thing, my friends, would be just awesome. In my book, this would be almost the ultimate in getting to work. Okay? So it's a human-sized drone is basically the way I understand this thing. And it's built like a single seat cockpit, like a single seat ATV, right? And I don't know. This would be, and it's electric, it's rechargeable. I think its flight time is 20 minutes. All right. So no pilot's license is required in the United States. You can learn to fly it in 5 minutes. Yeah. Okay. Whatever. I can't fly a drone. You wouldn't put me in this thing. I would have to have extensive lessons to fly this thing. But this thing is like a flying motorcycle. Now they make another one called the Black Fly. I think that's the one. But I don't like it nearly as good as this thing. A Formula One racing car for the skies. And see, this is what I would like. But here again, it all comes back to how can you regulate? There's no roads. How would you regulate up and down, sideways, everybody flying to work, going this way and going that way? Because 20 minutes would get me to work. Okay? I could, hopefully in this thing I could do it less. And the reason I say that is it takes me 20 minutes to get to work driving on the road. Twisty, turny, turn here, go there, slow down, speed up, stop for this guy, get stuck behind the slow driver. all those kind of things. All right. So if you had one of these, like I was talking about that guy, if you could fly, why follow the road? I would leave my house, I'd point that critter towards my job, and I would just go. Just go straight. I mean, yes, that would be boring, but just think, you're flying 60 feet, above the ground, just across the trees, down the valleys, up the hills, you know, then what would happen? The trouble is people try to shoot you out of the sky because you're flying over their house every morning at, 7:15. Even though it's electric, drones are loud. This thing would be so obnoxious. But what would be the legality of that? Could I leave my house and fly over, you know, hundreds of pieces of property to go straight to my job and land in the parking lot? Legally, could I fly over people's houses? Is that an invasion of their privacy? I can drive down the road beside their house. Is that kind of the same thing? So, yeah, as long as one of the props don't fail. I don't know, they talk about redundancy and all that other kind of stuff. I'm with you. Once you leave the ground, anything can happen. That's like, what was it? There was a comedian that told a joke. Man, I wish I could remember. It was all about flying. And, oh yeah, he's talking about flying. How come he doesn't like to fly? You're flying along. You can't just pull over and listen and find out what that noise is, right? So you're driving a car, you hear a little thumping, knocking, and something like that. You pull off the side road, you get out, and start looking around. What's going on? He said, you just can't do that in an airplane. So, it's not the same as driving down the road. This would not the same, even though it's got redundancy. Hands-free hover and emergency functions. There's one of these things that it says it can be flown remotely. Okay, here we go now. Big Brother taking you out of the sky, taking over your mode of transportation. Oh, by the way, it's $92,000. $92,000. Is that a lot? Maybe. Maybe. So, the Jetson 1, I saw this thing. I said, that right there is what I always thought would be cool to fly to work in. Right? I mean, it's a motorcycle that flies. Now, if you look at it, fly to a flock of birds. Clell says 500 feet minimum altitude over cities. Who's going to... I've got $92,000 in this thing. Who's going to chase me down? Now when it gets to be Blade Runner style and there's cops out there and they've got their own, all that stuff, yeah, okay. But then, of course, if I've got the only one, they could just be waiting on me when I get to work because it's hard to hide something like that, right? So, it'd be terrible. I just have to fly in circles and dive bomb things, and it'd be terrible. Now I did look up, like I said, there's another one called the Black Fly. They have them in different configurations. This is not by any means the only one out there. It says it's affordable. I don't know about that. So let's see if we can find real quick. It's about time to call it quits here. So, you get all these other vertical takeoff and landing things. There was one in here when I was looking these up that really did remind me of the Jetsons. And some of these are all just concepts. Where'd it go? It was one that actually you rode like a motorcycle. You were prone, facing down like a crotch rocket, instead of sitting back in a nice easy chair configuration. Well, I don't see the one that I was looking at. That looked like a Jetson mobile. That one's pretty cool right here with the pod underneath the props. But there was one other thing that I thought it's a little bit more this thing right here. World's smallest helicopter to take flight. Now that would be cool. That would be cool right there. I think that dude, he needs a little shorter landing gear. He's reaching for them pegs. He's reaching for that. But now this is like a helicopter down to just its bare bones minimum. See, there's no tail rotor. I don't know what. Okay, so it's got two that's probably spinning in the opposite directions to keep him from just spinning around like a top. So there's no tail rotor. That doesn't look comfortable, but you could fly this thing to work, right? As long as you're not going for hours and hours, you know. Get you some goggles. I don't know why he's flying without goggles. Safety first, but he's got his white gloves on, so that counteracts that. But that's cool. And that doesn't look like that should be really expensive, right? I mean, what's he got on here? A couple of Briggs and Stratton 5 horsepowers, you know, a little old T-bar handle. Shoot, yeah, that would be cool. That would be cool. So, I know it wasn't all futuristic, you know, Jetsons kind of stuff, but to me, like I said, when you're talking about Jetsons transportation, it's in the air. It's not like ATVs rolling around on the ground or anything like that. You're flying. Some way you're flying. Whether it's anti-gravity, magnetics, you know, jet suits, you know, jet propulsion, wind, you know, whatever it might be. I just think that those things would be cool to fly to work in and land and say, oh, well, let's just get out. I'm here at work. You know, just be like riding a motorcycle to work, except you fly. That would be cool. So, thanks everybody for coming by. It went longer. I got tied up in them other ones. But the Jetson one is probably my favorite out of all those, just because it looks really cool. You can sit back, you recline in it, put your helmet on, your leather jacket, fire that puppy up in the morning. Hey, you don't even have to let it warm up. It's electric. You just flip a couple switches, get that thing powered up, undo that extension cord, and take off. Be at work in just a few minutes. Wake up late, man, just jump out there. But it's got a cup holder, right? Coffee, put your coffee in there, kick back. I think that would be fun. So maybe I'll start me a GoFundMe, try to raise $92,000 and buy one. You know, put a couple of videos out of it, zipping to work, you know, running out. Man, Uber, wouldn't that be cool? Go pick up somebody in Uber, say, hold on to this rope. Hold on tight. I'm only going to be 500 feet because we're going across the city. So just hold on tight. Anyway, I appreciate you guys coming. Gals, if there's any gals out there, if there's anybody out there lurking, say something in the chat. Don't be bashful. I've got 75 subscribers. I backslid to 73 the other day, but now I'm at 75. Let's see if we can make it 100. Like, subscribe, watch the videos. I'm going to cook something else maybe this coming weekend. So look for that. And like I said, if you got any suggestions, leave me a comment. If you want something to talk about, if you want to get on the show, join me, let me know. We can make it happen. Yeah, what could possibly go wrong? I tell you one thing, the biggest thing about any of these things that I've looked at, the biggest thing that could go wrong with them is gravity. That's the biggest problem. Gravity. I don't know what you're ever going to do about gravity. Somewhere or another, somebody's going to complain. Gravity's getting weaker. Gravity's getting weaker. We need to eat more or something. Increase our gravity. We're all going to float out into space one day because gravity's getting weaker. Poor old world. So anyway, tune in. I think Thursday is going to be another Survivor, unless I come up. Need to talk to Ryan about our D&D characters. Robert, you sent your stuff in? You should. Fill out that form. Send it in. Become a hulking maniac warrior and kill every armadillo in sight. But anyway, I appreciate you, everybody, guys, gals, people out there in broadcast land. Bye-bye. Thanks again. Stop on.